The colon is a punctuation mark consisting of two equally sized dots centered on the same vertical line. A colon precedes an explanation, or an enumeration, or list. A colon is also used with ratios, titles and subtitles of books, city and publisher in bibliographies, biblical citations between chapter and verse, and, in American English, to separate hours and minutes, for business letter salutations and informal letter writing. In Unicode, it is encoded at U+003A:. Its alt code is Alt+58. Usage. The most common use of the colon is to inform the reader that what follows the colon proves, explains, defines, describes, or lists elements of what preceded it. In modern American English usage, a complete sentence precedes a colon, while a list, description, explanation, or definition follows it. The elements which follow the colon may or may not be a complete sentence. Since the colon is preceded by a sentence, it is a complete sentence whether what follows the colon is another sentence or not. While it is acceptable to capitalize the first letter after the colon in American English, it is not the case in British English. Colon used before list. Williams was so hungry he ate everything in the house: chips, cold pizza, pretzels and dip, hot dogs, peanut butter and candy. Colon used before description. Jane is so desperate that she'll date anyone, even Tom. He's uglier than a squashed toad on the highway, and that's on his good days. Colon before definition. For years while I was reading Shakespeare's Othello and criticism on it, I had to constantly look up the word egregious, since the villain uses that word. Outstandingly bad or shocking. Colon before explanation. I had a rough weekend. I had chest pain and spent all Saturday and Sunday in the emergency room. Some writers use fragments before a colon for emphasis or stylistic preferences, as in this example: dinner, chips and juice. What a well-rounded diet I have. The Bedford Handbook describes several uses of a colon. For example, one can use a colon after an independent clause to direct attention to a list, an appositive or a quotation, and it can be used between independent clauses if the second summarizes or explains the first. In non-literary and non-expository uses, one may use a colon after the salutation in a formal letter to indicate hours and minutes, to show proportions between a title and subtitle, and between city and publisher in bibliographic entries. Luca Siriani, an Italian scholar who helped to define and develop the colon as a punctuation mark, identified four punctuational modes for it: syntactical deductive, syntactical descriptive, appositive, and segmental. Although Siriani wrote this guide for the Italian language, his definitions apply also to English and many other languages. Syntactical deductive. The colon introduces the logical consequence, or effect, of a fact stated before. There was only one possible explanation: the train had never arrived. Syntactical descriptive. In this sense, the colon introduces a description. In particular, it makes explicit the elements of a set. I have three sisters: Daphne, Rose, and Suzanne. Syntactical descriptive colons may separate the numbers indicating hours, minutes, and seconds in abbreviated measures of time. The concert begins at 21:45. The rocket launched at 9 hours 15 minutes and 5 seconds. British English, however, more frequently uses a full stop for this purpose. The program will begin at 8 p.m. You will need to arrive by 14:30. Appositive. Leo Runs could not speak. He was drunk. An appositive colon also separates the subtitle of a work from its principal title. In titles, neither needs to be a complete sentence, as titles do not represent expository writing. Star Wars Episode VI, Return of the Jedi segmental, like a dash a quotation mark, a segmental colon introduces speech. The segmental function was once a common means of indicating an unmarked quotation on the same line. The following example is from the grammar book The King's English. Benjamin Franklin proclaimed the virtue of frugality. A penny saved is a penny earned. This form is still used in written dialogues, such as in a play. The colon indicates that the words following an individual's name are spoken by that individual. Patient: Doctor, I feel like a pair of curtains. Doctor, pull yourself together. Use of capitals. Use of capitalization a lowercase after a colon varies. In British English, the word following the colon is in lowercase unless it is normally capitalized for some other reason, as with proper nouns and acronyms. British English also capitalizes a new sentence introduced by colon segmental use. American English goes further and permits writers to similarly capitalize the first word of any independent clause following a colon. This follows the guidelines of some modern American style guides, including those published by the Associated Press and the Modern Language Association. The Chicago Manual of Style, however, requires capitalization only when the colon introduces a direct quotation or two or more complete sentences. In many European languages, the colon is usually followed by a lowercase letter unless the uppercase is required for other reasons, as with British English. German usage requires capitalization of independent clauses following a colon. Dutch further capitalizes the first word of any quotation following a colon, even if it is not a complete sentence on its own. Spacing in print. A thin space is traditionally placed before a colon and a thick space after it. In modern English language printing, no space is placed before a colon and a single space is placed after it. In French language typing and printing, the traditional rules are preserved. One or two spaces may be and have been used after a colon. The older convention was to use two spaces after a colon. History. The English word colon is from a Latin colon, itself from ancient Greek kappa lambda omicron nu, meaning limb, member, or portion. In Greek rhetoric and prosody, the term did not refer to punctuation but to the expression a passage itself. A colon was section of a complete thought passage. For this usage, in paleography, a colon is a clause, a group of clauses written as a line in a manuscript. In the punctuation system devised by Aristophanes of Byzantium in the 3rd century BC, the end of such a clause was thought to occasion a medium-length breath and was marked by a middle. A double dot symbol, meanwhile, later came to be used as a full stopper to mark a change of speaker. A variant was introduced to English orthography around 1600, marking a pause intermediate between a comma and a period. As late as the 18th century, the appropriateness of a colon was still being related to the length of the pause taken when reading the text aloud, but silent reading eventually replaced this with other considerations. In British English, it was once common for a colon to be followed by a hyphen or dash to indicate a restful pause. In a typographical construction known as the dog's bollocks, though this usage is now discouraged. International Phonetic Alphabet. A special triangular colon symbol is used in IPA to indicate that the preceding sound is long. Its form is that of two triangles, each a little larger than the point of a standard colon, pointing toward each other. It is available in Unicode as modifier letter triangular colon, Unicode U+02D0. A regular colon is often used as a fallback when this character is not available, and in the practical orthography of some languages which have a phonemic long-short distinction in vowels. If the upper triangle is used without the lower one, it designates a half-long vowel. Word medial separator. In Finnish and Swedish, the colon can appear inside words in a manner similar to the apostrophe in the English possessive case, connecting a grammatical suffix to an abbreviation or initialism, a special symbol, or a digit. Abbreviation. In Swedish, the colon is used in contractions, such as st for Sankt, e.g. in the Stockholm metro station St. Eriksplan. This can even occur in people's names, for example Antonia X. Son Johnson. The colon was also used to mark abbreviations in early modern English, to replace the letter O. Bordering to wordplay, Göteborg on their official homepage used the spelling Göteborg letter. The colon is also used as a grammatical tone letter in Budu in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, in Saburo in Kenya, in Samgribo in Liberia, and in Papua New Guinea. Arama, Gizra, Gobosi, Guahatiki, Kalalili, Kamula, Kasha, Kuni Boazi, and Zimikani. The Unicode character used for the tone letter U plus A 789 modifier letter colon is different from the punctuation, as well from IPA's triangular colon U plus O2D0. Computing. In computing, the colon character is represented by ASCII code 58, and is located at Unicode code point U plus 003A. Scripts comprising wide characters, such as kanji, use a full-width equivalent, located at Unicode code point U plus FF1A FULLWIDTH. Several programming languages use the colon for various purposes. A number of programming languages, most notably Pascal and Ada, use a colon immediately followed by an equality sign, in which case the colon and the equality sign are considering to compose to an independent assignment sign. This can be represented in Unicode as U plus 2254 colon equals labels, targets for jumps, notably goto, but also some switch statements, a general form of a label name followed by a colon. These include C and DOS batch files. For the double colon used in computer programming, see the scope resolution operator and class member access of C++. The colon is also used as part of the conditional operator in C in other languages. In a number of languages, including JavaScript and Python, colons are used to define name-value pairs in a dictionary or object. The colon is also used in many operating systems commands. It is often used as a single postfix delimiter, signifying a token keyword had immediately preceded it to the transition from one mode of character string interpretation to another related mode. Some applications, such as the widely used MediaWiki, utilize the colon as both a prefix and postfix delimiter. In Wiki Markup, the colon is often used to indent text. Common usage includes separating or marking comments in a discussion as replies, or to distinguish certain parts of a text. Addresses. The colon is quite often used as a special control character in URLs, computer programming languages, in the path representation of several file systems. In an IPv6 address, colons separate up to 8 groups of 16 bits in hexadecimal representation. In a URL, a colon follows the initial scheme name, and separates a port number from the host name or IP address. Other languages. In BASIC, it is used as a separator between the statements or instructions in a single line, which is represented in other languages via the semicolon. In Forth, a colon precedes definition of a new word. Haskell uses a colon as an operator to add an element to the front of a list, while a double colon is read as has type of. The ML languages have the above reversed, where the double colon is used to add an element to the front of a list, and the single colon is used for type guards. MATLAB uses the colon as a binary operator that generates vectors, as well as to select particular particular portions of existing matrices. In Python, which uses indentation to indicate blocks, the colon is used in statements to indicate that the next line is the start of an indented block. APL uses the colon to introduce a control structure or element. In this usage, it must be the first non-blank character of the line, after a label name that will be the target of a goto or a right-pointing arrow, to separate a guard from its expression in a dynamic function. Two colons are used for an error guard. Colon plus space are used in class definitions to indicate inheritance. Dot. In the esoteric programming language INTERCAL, the colon is called toSpot and is used to identify a 32-bit variable, distinct from a spot which identifies a 16-bit variable. Internet usage. On the Internet, a colon, or multiple colons, is sometimes used to denote an action or to emote. In the action denotation usage, it has the inverse function of quotation marks, denoting actions where unmarked text is assumed to be dialogue. For example, Tom, Pluto's so small, it should not be considered a planet. It is tiny. Mark, oh really? Drops Pluto on Tom's head. Still think it's small now. Colons may also be used for sounds, e.g., click, though sounds can also be denoted by asterisks or other punctuation marks. Colons can also be used to represent eyes in emoticons. Encoding. U plus 003A colon. U plus FF1A full width colon. U plus O2D0 IPA triangular colon.